Hey everyone! Welcome to Be the Change. My name is Lily Mott, and today I'm going to be talking about how change comes through artivism. My guest this week is Trisha Beher, who is an intersectional activist and the founder of the Art Shine Foundation, which is a youth-led nonprofit with the mission of utilizing the arts to foster leadership, service, and creativity in Gen Z and their communities around the world. While I'm certainly not the most artistic myself, it was definitely fun to talk with Trisha about all of the great work she's doing. So, let's get started with this episode featuring Trisha Beher.
Hi, I'm Trisha. I'm a graduating senior and I will be going to Cornell this fall. So really excited for that. A lot of my work in high school has centered around activism, whether it's been feminism, so gender equality advocacy, mental health advocacy, and a lot of things just catered around helping communities, empowering communities. I've done climate work as well. So I do a lot of activism and I really love making a positive impact on the people and communities around me. So if you see me doing anything, it's usually centered around helping other people. So last year I started my nonprofit organization, the Art Shine Foundation, and we do activism through art, and basically we amplify the voices of communities through artwork and creativity. And that took off last year, and I'm working on expanding it. We're going to be having chapters and a lot of cool projects coming in the next few months. So yeah, that's just a little bit about me. I do a lot of organizing, speaking, and writing as well. So those are just some of my hobbies. But yeah, that's just a quick summary of kind of what I do. That should give you a good idea of what my work centers around.
That's perfect. That was a great start to the episode. And I'd love to talk some about the experiences you've had, maybe the challenges you faced that brought you to this point in your life where you felt like you needed to get involved in the activism space and get started with the Art Shine Foundation. Can you tell me some about that part of your story?
Sure. Yeah. So I would say that just since I was very young, I was an avid feminist. I'm a young woman of color, so I've seen a lot of things which have kind of forced me to make my voice heard just from the very start since I was young. And I found that, people usually don't listen unless you go out there and make your voice heard. And when you do that, you're also advocating for a lot of other people who are in the same kind of position as you. So when I would advocate and put my voice out there, I would see that a lot of people were getting impacted by what I was saying and what I was doing. I can give you a quick example. So 2 years ago, I performed a spoken word poem in front of my school, talking about equality and how we need to really promote more amity in this world, regardless of our race, background, culture, or gender. And I got a lot of support for the poem and a lot of people backing up the message I was trying to send through my poem. And so, sometimes you don't realize that what you're saying can have this sort of psychological impact on others, that you can change perspectives through your work, when in reality, every single word has a meaning behind it and it can completely transform the way someone looks at the world. And I think this has been kind of mirrored in a lot of other aspects of work that I do. For example, my nonprofit organization, when I first started doing art, I didn't realize that it could be really powerful until I created some artwork for someone going through a really difficult time in their lives. And they told me that it really motivated them and helped them get through such a, dark time of their life. And after that, I realized that art can be like a tool. It can be a tool to empower other people. And it's a universal language, really, because anyone can look at it and interpret it the way they want to. And if you use it for good, it can change perspectives and completely alter the way people see the world.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And it also really leads well into my next question. So, could you tell me some about the intersection between your art and your activism? I know for a lot of people, art is a hobby and it's like an outlet of self-care to get away from some of the issues in the world, but for you, you've actually linked together your activism and your creative work. So, could you tell me some about how you view your own art and maybe how it connects to your activism work in your mind?
Yeah, sure. I definitely agree with your sentiment there that people don't usually see it as a way to advocate for issues and kind of, raise awareness for social justice. So I think artivism as a movement, we're trying to make it take off through our work that the Art Shine Foundation does. And I'm always trying to cater my work towards advocating for things that I really care about. So if you look at my work, in high school, I started centering it more around issues that are very pertinent to me. Feminism, for example. I've created a lot of work centering around gender equality and just empowering women, and trying to change perspectives on how women are seen in the world today. And I think artwork can do that really well because it's something that you're directly looking at. You can't kind of avert your attention from it once it's there. And the power of that is really profound. You can do so many things with it. I also center a lot of my work around mental health and just trying to raise awareness for mental health issues and the fact that it's okay to not be okay. So that's just what some of my work centers around, and I've tried to integrate that with the work my org does. For example, last month, or I think like 2 months ago, we launched our feminism art magazine, where we brought together creators and got them to create artwork around feminism and gender equality, and just compiling all of that work together sends a really powerful message to not only people that I know, but people across the world who are seeing the work that's been created by all of these people across the globe. So I think art really has the power to unite people, even if we don't think about it that way, which is why I think artivism is so special, and why I'm working so hard to make it even bigger of a movement.
Yeah, definitely. That makes so much sense. And looking some at your nonprofit, the Art Shine Foundation, I saw on the website that a big part of your mission is to amplify young artists' voices. So, can you tell me some about why that's such an important focus of your foundation and maybe why you specifically chose that mission?
Sure, yeah. So when I came into high school trying to look for a space where I could take my work and use it to advocate for people. And I found that it was very hard to make my voice heard and very hard for people to take me and what I was doing seriously. And I think that was the biggest motivation behind why I wanted to create that space for other youth creators. There's a quote which is, be the change you wish to see in the world. And this was a change that I really needed to see because I think youth voices are we're the future generation. We're creating the future for ourselves. And if we don't make our voices heard, then who's going to listen to us? So I think, creators sometimes don't get taken seriously. It's hard for us to find resources and find spaces to share our work and the messages that we're trying to send. So that's why, I wanted to create this community of youth artists where we could kind of bounce ideas off of one another and come together to create that impact. I can do only so much, but when there's, hundreds of other young people creating artwork with me and contributing to this movement, we're able to accelerate everything that we're doing and create an even greater impact on the people around us and the communities around us. And I think youth have such incredible stories to share. They're so willing to share them and so willing to share their work and their creations with the world. And giving them a space to do that and an opportunity to display their work to other people when they care so much about what they're doing is just incredible to me because I always looked for a space like that when I was younger, and being able to create that very space for other young creators is the best thing that I could be doing in my life right now.
Definitely. And of course, that quote, be the change you wish to see in the world, is what inspired this podcast. So I love to hear that you're really making that change. So I would also love if you can think of anything off the top of your head. I would love if you could share a little bit about some of the features that you've done of young artists through the foundation. Can you maybe share a couple of those with me?
Yeah, so I can name a couple. I think we've featured around 15 artists so far, and it's expanding, but we've had people from around 5 different countries. I think it's more. I'm just estimating off the top of my head. But we had one artist who is from Hungary. I thought that was really cool. Being able to feature an artist from just across the world. We recently featured a fashion designer, and she focuses a lot on showing her identity through her work. And I think she also does a lot of activism for sustainability and things like that. So I thought it was really cool that she's combining fashion design with activism and climate advocacy. And we've had people share their work, which revolves around photography. We have poets who advocate for all sorts of things. We had someone who wrote poetry about race related issues and COVID-19 and how that's affecting the Asian populace. So she's using her words to create that impact and change people's perspectives. So I think, artivism goes just beyond visual arts. It can expand to photography, poetry, all sorts of different mediums. And there's just so many things that you can do with it. And I think we're definitely proving that through featuring all of these incredible youth creators.
I definitely agree that you are, and I'm really excited to see where the foundation goes from here. So, you already shared one of my favorite quotes on this episode, be the change you wish to see in the world, but I'd love to know if there's any other advice that you've ever gotten, or maybe words of wisdom that you try to live by. Does anything like that come to mind for you?
I think there's probably a couple. The first one is forge your own path. I think that's very important to me because not a lot of other people see art in the way that I do. And it was very hard for me to get people interested in my mission and my work. And so then that would cause me to question myself, that is what I'm doing valid? Are people going to listen to what I have to say? But then I realized that, if you're doing something you really enjoy, regardless of whether people are also doing it alongside you, you still have to do what your heart is set on, regardless of whether other people are doing it or not. And I think forging my own path has become very important to me. People sometimes question the work that I'm doing, but if it's something that's unique and something that I can see is making an impact on the people around me, I'm just going to keep doing my work, regardless of what people are saying about it. And then I think the second thing is to just be grateful for everything you have. I think it's really easy for us to take people and situations for granted, and we often tend to not realize the worth of it or the importance of it until those things are gone. And so, whenever I lead, I always try to lead with love and kindness and gratitude. And I find that by doing that, that's when people tend to listen to me the most and resonate with my message and what I have to say.
So, we talked some before about how you're using art for activism when art is often a tool for people to take a break from their activism or their work. So, do you still use art as a way to de stress and take a break? Or do you maybe have other ways of stepping back from your work? How do you view art in your life? Is it still a form of self care?
So I would definitely say that creative outlets are the best way for me to kind of blow off steam or lift myself up when I'm feeling down. Anything that's related to the arts, like drawing, writing poetry, composing music, singing, because I do a lot of music stuff as well. That helps me so much. And I try to encourage other people to do the same when they're feeling down, because creativity is really the best way that you can it helps you get your mind off of things, and you don't really have to think about anything else when you're creating. So, I mean, I've spoken about this a lot as well in other spaces, just about mental health and how art can help so much with mental health. Creating it for someone, creating it to spread a message to help other people cope with mental health issues, and creating it for yourself to uplift yourself and feel better about yourself as a person, even if those two things are not like directly correlated, right? But it's still really powerful when you create something and you see that work that you've made and you're like, wow, I'm capable of doing something. I'm capable of putting something out there and creating this work. And I think that just instantly helps you feel better about yourself as a person. And definitely it's been the best way that I've coped with mental health issues in the past and difficult times that I've had to deal with in my life.
Yeah, definitely. And that's really interesting that it's a way for you to take your mind off of the problems we face, but also to help solve those problems. I think that's really cool. So, I have one last question for you. Lots of young people want to create change and they want to make a difference in this world. Do you have any advice that you'd want to share with those people who may just not really be sure where to get started?
I would say that the first thing would be to find what brings you the most joy. For me, that was always doing creative things. So I used that as a vessel to create change in the world. And I think that's the best way to get started if you want to create a change. Find the thing that you most enjoy and then leverage that to create that change. I think from there, it gets a bit easier because you're doing something that you genuinely enjoy doing and love, and that itself gives you a lot of motivation and drive to go out and create a change with the thing that you love doing. I think after that, then you should try and get other people to back up your vision and get other people involved, because you cannot create change alone. You need to do it with people who also believe in your mission. But I think for me, when I started ASF, I think my passion for what I was doing was really clear to the people who joined my team. Which is why they were also enthusiastic about it, because I myself am so into creating change through art that they're noticing this, they're picking up on it, and they're kind of modeling the same enthusiasm in their endeavors. And that's where the change starts. My passion for artivism, other people are picking up on it, and they're trying to mirror that too. And when they do that, other people get inspired by them. And suddenly it's just this big domino effect of people creating change through something that they really love doing. So I think that once you just get started, it just takes off from there when it's really something that you deeply care about. In my mind, I think one action or one drop in the water can just cause hundreds of ripples in the ocean, and you can really create change and an impact through that.
I think Trisha is doing amazing work to make artivism more popular while amplifying youth voices through their creative work. She is the perfect example of being the change you wish to see in the world because she saw a gap in her life when she didn't have a place to share her work with others, and so she went and she created that network for other young creators through the Art Shine Foundation. She also is using her creative talents to make a difference and raise awareness about important issues, which is a perfect example of using what you're good at and what you're passionate about to help others. I encourage you all to check out the Artshine Foundation from the link in this episode description because Trisha and her team are really showing that change comes through artivism. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, and you can follow Trisha on Instagram at Trisha Beher with 2 R's to get connected with her, and you can check out the Artshine Foundation at Artshine Foundation on Instagram as well. If you want to talk about anything I mentioned, please reach out to me by email at lily@bethechangepodcast.org or on Instagram at bethechangepodcast. Tune in for my next episode, but until then, be the change you wish to see in the world. Bye, guys.